This is an example of an Iban longhouse at the Sarawak Cultural Village in Santubong. So we will be entering it from the rear side, and if you look through this area you will see the kitchen. Beautiful rattan mats along the floor, very sturdy. These are the lamps, the traditional oil lamps which may have been used before the advent of electricity. The entire wall, this house is built of tree bark with a beautiful texture. These are some of the traditional porcelain plates and cooking utensils. As you can see, they are using a lot of clay jars. These are some storage jars which look like grouds. Staircase has been carved and leads to the upper deck of this dwelling. And the storage jars for various kinds of grains, probably rice. There are examples of clothing and woven fabric along the walls. Move on to the next room, which must have been some kind of communal dining area. A very beautiful example of storage baskets on the ceiling. Some beautiful fabrics, woven fabrics and printed fabrics. Traditional jars for the storage of different kinds of grains. A cap used for harvesting, a hat rather, used for harvesting. These are some of the instruments used for winnowing of grain, rice. There are beautiful examples of the culture of the Bidayu people, and they have woven this intricate plate holders, and some examples of metal items which are probably imported from traders. You see the traditional cooking utensils. Of course, they have been replaced now with LPG and other staircase leading up to the upper reaches of this dwelling. Okay, and this is the communal area, which is an example of how the tribes actually lived. Okay, a fireplace, a hearth, which is at the center of this dwelling. See various artifacts, including some icons, some kind of net, which was probably used to capture wild animals. Another kind of net which may have been used for fishing in the rivers. Traditional shields with beautiful carvings. And this particular artifact forms part of the dancing rituals. See it hang right at the doorplace. This place is basically covered with all sorts of instruments and implements used traditionally. These are the gongs, and a depiction of the various kinds of instruments used for playing music. Some examples of the clothing probably used by hunters. A series of knives, hunting knives. There are some instruments. Sabah, this is a samputan. a variant of that. Stringed instruments. Okay, and then we move on to the other section of this longhouse. See some of the icons, they may have some significance in tribal beliefs. We move on to the interior section. You will see a traditional weaving implement here. It's called a Tanun Parap, traditional weaving implement. And we go down and we see the traditional beads in this area, different kinds of traditional beads which have been handmade and then woven along this fiber. So all over you see the intricacy of the material, very beautiful, very, very beautiful sections and instruments, all traditional. This is a map showing different regions in which the Ibans of Sarawak lived. And the head hunting legends. It shows you that the Iban is one of the most well distributed races in ethnic groups in Sarawak. It's beautiful. Okay. So if you're in Sarawak, make sure that you visit the Sarawak Cultural Village, which is located at 1 hour's drive from Kuching city, and see an example of this beautiful longhouse on the 11-acre land which surrounds this cultural village. Thank you.